So, welcome back. And I'm going to be off camera for this because I just wanted to hurry up and get this out. This isn't going to be a fully fleshed out video. This is going to be more of flow of consciousness. I didn't write a script or anything like that because I feel like what I'm about to talk about, I know enough about to be able to just come off the dome with it. So, with that being said, welcome. I love you guys. If you like this content, please like, share, subscribe, and comment below. All of those things help me. It helped me to spread the message, the gospel, open other people's eyes to this thing because we are living in the last days. And I really want to make sure that I'm doing my part to open people's eyes. But I just want you guys to just bear with me because I just wanted to just get this out. I just wanted to get this out. And as you see, the title is Genesis 6 to 2026. What's changed? And that's because, well, what has changed? I see that some things have been released lately that there's a phrase that people like to use for the longest time, about people who, you put on your 10 hats, and I'm trying to avoid saying this word, but being labeled a conspiracy theorist for the longest time. You're crazy until you're not. And so recently some things have been exposed. Some documents were released, read between the lines. And in those documents, people have found that, you know, the powers that be and celebs and those alike are into some pretty interesting things, huh? It's kind of been proven. You guys are starting to you guys are starting to believe that maybe this world isn't what you think it is, huh? And then there's a lovely lady. Um, I'm gonna just call her CO. She just also talked about some things, and she talked about a certain group of people and a symbol that they use. And I'm trying not to get my video flagged, so that's why I'm trying to, read between the lines. A lot of this video is gonna have to be you guys going to do your own homework. And that's the beauty of studying. You can always have somebody just force feed and spoon feed you something, but you really grow in knowledge when you do your own research and you look up these things for yourself. But there's a woman who has come out and she's talked about, like I said, a certain group of people and a symbol that they use. And a lot of this stuff has to do with Solomon, but we're going to get into that. Like I said, this is just going to be a free flow of consciousness. I'm going to read some things and then we're going to get out of here. I'm going to make it short, quick, and to the point. So, as far as Genesis 6, I'm just going to read to you verse 5 and 6. And it says, "And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart." And so it goes on to say how he wanted to destroy he wanted to destroy us because we just all of our imaginations were just wild. We just wanted to do some crazy stuff, right? And if you remember from if you hear anything, that's my lizard. She's bugging out right now. She's having fun and she's right next to me. But if you remember in my last video, when I was talking about the celebs, I talked about how, they did a lot of things, but they worshiped certain gods and deities, Moloch being one of them, that came out in these documents that were just released. So uh, Moloch was being worshipped back then, and it just came out that these people are still worshiping Moloch, right? So I just I'm not trying to pick on this lady. I'm not trying to talk about nobody. It's just a picture. But there was just an award show, and a lot of people were up to their same old, right? And so why am I adding all this stuff together? Well, because I'm trying to get you guys to understand that there's nothing new under the sun. And I'm trying to get you guys to understand that all this stuff is connected. And the world that you think you're living in is not the world that you live in. And a lot of things that you see is not what you're really looking at. I tried to explain in the other video that these people live, breathe, move in deception at all times, because the God that they serve is not the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So what was just released in those documents is what I'm trying to tell y'all. If they were doing it back then, they're doing it now. It never stopped. And when you hear about them talking about, lineage, I'll use that word, it's because these people have been doing it for generations, and it's passed down from the ancestors down to their children. You teach your children what you know, right? So when you wonder where all these people came from and how they got the spotlight, it's because they're down with it. It doesn't matter who it is, it doesn't matter how much you like them. And the reason why you have to see what I'm trying to expose to you about these people is when you break the brainwashing on your mind that these celebrities and these people with the camera in front of them has on you, then you start to see the real world that we're living in, and you can make your choice and decide this day who you will serve, because you cannot serve man and God. You can't. And we're gonna go into that God thing. I was gonna do a whole full situation where I explain why I don't use the terms Lord and God, but I really prayed about this. I don't even are y'all even ready to know why you shouldn't use those terms? But I'm gonna just go ahead and I'm gonna talk about why I did this video in the first place. So there's a guy, and he was doing what he was supposed to do until he stopped. And because of that guy, we have a lot of things going on today. And a lot of the things that these people do, they got it from this one guy. His name is Solomon, right? So in 1 Kings 11:4-8, it says, "For it came to pass when Solomon was old that his wives turned away his heart after other gods. And his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God, as was the heart of David his father. For Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. And Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord, and went not fully after the Lord, as did David his father. Then did Solomon build an high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, or Chemosh, in the hill that is before Jerusalem, and for Moloch, the abomination of the children of Ammon. And likewise did he for all his strange wives, which burnt incense and sacrificed unto their gods." There are certain groups that have books and a lot of importance put on Solomon. And this is why. Don't ever get it twisted that they're talking about Solomon because they just love his connection to Yahweh. That's not why. It's because of this. Solomon, and if you ever heard of the Lesser Key of Solomon, it's a book, and it has a lot of it's pretty much a book where it has all the demons in it, and you can conjure them up and stuff like that. Then there's a seal, there's a symbol that he came up with, and it's a pentagram. I'm gonna just say it's a pentagram, and all those things are attributed to Solomon. So when we're talking about names that are identifiable. I can hide under the guise of Solomon because y'all know Solomon from the Bible. So you think, oh, what I'm doing is okay. There's a lot of mysticism. There's a thing called Jewish mysticism. There's a lot of things that are not, that are actually an affront to Yahweh. And so when you see, like, look at her, she looks like something. Those look like lashes. That looks like an eye. Why? So let's go back to the Bible. You have people that, like, I know that we're the lost tribe. I get it. And so we look for any type of culture to identify with. I don't know why y'all will go with Egyptian culture because that's not where you from. But I digress. But I don't digress, actually, because I'm going to read to you some scriptures, and you tell me if Egyptian culture is something that you should adopt if you call yourself a Christian or if you call yourself a worshiper of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Exodus 12:12 says, "For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord." Why would he smite the gods why would he go against the gods of Egypt if they were what we supposed to be worshiping? If we supposed to get the evil eye tatted on us, and if we're supposed to worship and be hoteps, if we're supposed to be, you know, down with the like the tattoo that Rihanna has on her chest, beautiful, right? That's Egyptian culture, which Elohim was against. Do y'all not remember the Exodus? Duh, it's right there. He saved his people from being enslaved by these people, and these were the gods that they served. And if Rihanna goes and gets a tattoo, it's not because it's cool. You get that tattoo because you think it's cool, and you got it because she got it. But she knows why she got that tattoo. You don't. So let me read another one. Jeremiah 43:12 and 13. "And I will kindle a fire in the houses of the gods of Egypt, and he shall burn them, and carry them away captives. And he shall array himself with the land of Egypt, as a shepherd putteth on his garment, and he shall go forth from thence in peace. He shall break also the images of Beth Shemesh that is in the land of Egypt, and the houses of the gods of the Egyptians shall he burn with fire." Why? Why? Let me read another one. Ezekiel 20. Ezekiel 20:7 says, then said I unto them, Cast ye away every man the abominations of his eyes, and defile not yourselves with the idols of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. I purposely try to go all over the Bible, but let me give you another one. Jeremiah 46:25. "The Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, saith, Behold, I will punish the multitude of No and Pharaoh in Egypt with their gods and their kings, even Pharaoh and all them that trust in him." Not some. Now, why did I read that? Because I'm going to read an excerpt from one of my Sabbath school lessons, and it was on Exodus, right? So when we talk about the Exodus and we talk about the children of Israel being freed from the captives, I mean being freed from being captive in Egypt, and he talks about their gods. So then we get into the plagues. There was a reason why he didn't just set them free. There was a reason why some things had to take place first, and then there was the Passover. There was a reason why, and I'm going to read to you the reason. Pharaoh considered himself to be one of those gods. Okay? The Lord did not fight against the Egyptians or even Egypt, but against their deities. The Egyptians venerated more than 1,500 gods and goddesses. Okay? So, with that being said, when he turned the rod that Moses had into a serpent, the Uraeus goddess Wajet was personified by a cobra and represented sovereign power over Lower Egypt. The symbol of a cobra appeared in Pharaoh's crown, a sign of his power, deity, royalty, and divine authority. Okay? So, because this goddess would spit venom at Pharaoh's enemies, the Egyptians believed that it was a sacred serpent that would guide Pharaoh to his afterlife. So when you see all this serpent imagery, it never changes. Do you notice that from the beginning with the garden all the way until now, all this serpent worship is the same thing. It doesn't matter what religion, it doesn't matter what culture, it's the same thing. You can dress it up nicely, you can do whatever you want to do, but it's still the same thing. It represents the same thing. It is an affront to Elohim, okay? When Aaron's staff became a snake and ate all the other serpents before the king, the supremacy of the living God over Egyptian magic and sorcery was manifested. Not only was the emblem of Pharaoh's might conquered, but Aaron and Moses clutched it in their hands. This initial confrontation demonstrated God's power and lordship over Egypt. Moses, as God's representative, had greater authority and power than did the quote unquote God, Pharaoh himself. These things were done so that Moses and the Egyptians could see what type of time it was. He wasn't playing. He was saying, look, I know Pharaoh thinks he's a God. So me and him going head to head is what he thinks. Cool. But don't you think these things were done so that maybe the Egyptians can turn their life around? He always puts us in a position to choose. You can choose to stay where you at, or you can come over here, see my power, see my might, and see my mercy. So I'm gonna keep reading. I'm going to mess up a lot of these pronunciations, but just hear me, right? So the Egyptian god Utachet, I don't know what that is, was the fly god in the swamps and marshes. The god Khepri of the rising sun creation and rebirth was depicted with the head of a scarab beetle. Do you not see this imagery still today? Anyway, these quote unquote gods were defeated by the Lord. In this account, which is Exodus 8:24 through 20, Exodus 8:20 through 24. While the Egyptians were suffering, the Hebrews were protected. Okay? So, what he was trying to do was show that each plague represented a quote unquote God or deity that was not more powerful than him. Okay? So, the next plague falls on the livestock, Hathor, the Egyptian goddess of love and protection, which is depicted with the head of a cow. The bull god Apis, that was the fifth plague where the livestock died again. The sixth plague was the total defeat of Isis, the goddess of medicine, magic, and wisdom. Sekhmet, the goddess of war and epidemics, and Imhotep, god of medicine and healing. They are unable to protect their own worshipers. Ironically, now, even the magicians and sorcerers are so afflicted that they cannot appear in court, which shows that they are helpless against the creator of heaven and earth. Nut was the Egyptian goddess of the sky and heavens. What did he do to the sky and heavens? Osiris was the god of crops and fertility. He struck all of this stuff. They couldn't do nothing with nothing. He did the plagues the way he did it because he was trying to show you that I am God and God alone. No one is on my level, and these deities that y'all worship are nothing. This is just a fallen angel who is playing with y'all. Okay? Now I could keep going, but I'm just going to go down to Ra, the sun god, Thoth, the moon god. They weren't able to give light. There was a 3-day period of darkness, and the only light that was around was where the Israelites lived. So what I'm saying is, I could keep going further. When you go back, these gods are the same gods that they're worshiping today. All this pyramid stuff that you see in pop culture, and then you talking about Moloch. I just read to you how he kept telling y'all, I don't rock with this. So why would you go get a tattoo of a pyramid, of a owl? Why would you go when you are doing these things? You are actively worshiping a pagan deity. When you are doing yoga, you are actively participating in sun worship. Nothing is consequential, it's happenstance. Nothing is just a coincidence, okay? Everything you see is based on this stuff. Random obelisks that are in our nation's capital, and that's why, again, why is she with her? Who is she? What's her hands like that for? But again, this isn't even about the awards. I want to make sure that y'all understand this isn't about the awards. I'm trying to show you that there is nothing different from Genesis 6, which led us into the flood, and now in 2026, where he said, I'm not going to come back and destroy y'all with water no more. I'm going to bring the fire. And just like in Noah's day, nobody wanted to believe. Nobody wanted to listen. And they mocked and they laughed at Noah. He's sitting there building an ark. It didn't take him a day, it didn't take him a week. It took Noah years. And they still would not repent. They would not stop. And it says in Revelations that we will still be living and laughing and loving and giving into marriage as if the son of Yahuwah is not coming to finally eradicate all of this mess. If nothing was wrong, he wouldn't have to. If we died and just went to heaven, he wouldn't have to. So, what am I saying? I'm saying, just like back then, they sacrificed their children to Moloch. Did it not just come out in some paperwork recently that they're still doing that? Okay. Did Miss, I'm gonna call her Candy. I'm gonna call her Miss Candy. Did she not just come out and talk about a group of people and symbolism and where that symbolism came from? Because this stuff is highly relevant, and I want you guys to look up the affable name of uh, I want you to look up the removal of Elohim's name from the Bible. I want you to look up that these are very well documented things, and it's not a conspiracy. Okay? It's not a theory. This is what's happening, and it's happening because they don't want you to know why they're doing it. And I'm going to tell you now, I'm going to just kill the mystery right here. As long as you don't know, we get to do whatever we do. We get to harness your energy so that we can bring about our God. And it's all in the Bible. Nothing I'm saying to you is not something you can't Google or look in your Bible. Why do you think there's such a takeover of AI? Because they want to control what you know. Why do you think there was such a concerted effort to take over TikTok? Because they want to control what you know. Why do I have to be very coded in everything that I'm saying right now? Why can't I talk about certain things in certain ways and certain people? Because they want to control what you know. And the reason why is if you don't know, trust me, they do. Something I say to my husband all the time is you can't tell a lie unless you know the truth. If there is no devil, guess what? Then there is no God. But my question is, why do y'all keep giving the same energy? Why do y'all keep giving the same imagery? Why do y'all keep doing the same stuff? I'm not going to show the picture, but people saw CeeLo and his son. Why? For what? It's not just fashion. Because if you look at fashion, why is all fashion this dark, demonic energy? Why? because they're worshiping and y'all are participating in it. Choose you this day whom you will serve. I didn't watch the awards. Can't tell you nothing that happened. I haven't watched awards in years. I don't know what's going on in the world. I just see little clips, but let me tell you, instead of staying up on what the enemy is doing, I'm staying focused on my Father sending his son back to make all this stuff go away. That's what I'm focusing on. And in the process, I'm going to try to open as many eyes as I possibly can. They haven't stopped the Moloch worship. They haven't stopped the Ra, the Osiris, the Horus worship. They haven't stopped, y'all. And the only difference between these names that I just used is the names. You can say, okay, well, in the Lesser Key of Solomon, they're different uh fallen angels and they have different okay, cool, but they're under one person's rule. It doesn't matter. That's the point I'm ultimately getting you to. Whether you think they're all different iterations of the fallen one or you think they are his workers, the point is, when you engage in these activities and watch these people and defend them and love them more than anything, you are engaging in pagan deity worship. And it is an affront to Elohim. Nothing has changed from Genesis 6. We are in Revelations. Wake up. I will leave with the scripture, but I gotta go. I got something to do. But I love y'all. And yeah, just when it doesn't feel right, it's because it isn't. And that's the spirit of Elohim trying to tell you something. That's him trying to wake you up, shake it up a little bit. When it doesn't feel right, it's because it ain't right. But until next time, I love y'all. Be safe. Please pray. And give your lives over to the one who loves you, who gave his son for you, and who's coming back soon. All right. Bye.